Hello.
Hi Danny, this is Arya here. How
Hi,
are
Arya.
you?
Arya, where are you joining us from?
I'm joining you from Bangalore.
That's nice. That's a nice name, by the way. Arya, as in like Arya Stark from Game of Thrones.
Not really. It's more like Arya Rizvi. So Arya Rizvi is the
Mm-hmm.
alias that I use, and she's like my alter ego for whenever I want to do things which are not really acceptable for me to do them. So I'll be like, "Oh, Arya's doing this," and
You have
so,
an. Hang on a second. You have an alter ego to do things that are not acceptable by society, I'm guessing.
well, society, my family in general, as a
Uh,
woman,
in
as
general.
a
And
human
then you
being.
rationalize it. And oh, wow,
Mm.
as a human being.
Something
So
along
you,
the
in your
lines of,
head,
yeah.
right? So in your head, you rationalize it by saying, okay, I didn't do it. Arya did it.
You have no idea. I have created this entire life for Arya where she's just living her life. I've written this whole manuscript called The Adventures of Arya.
God damn, this is crazy. So like, what kind of stuff? What kind of, what are these things that you're doing that require you to have an alter ego? Like, give us a couple of examples.
So honestly, if I tell you, it sounds pretty normal to you and I as like, people from the
Mm-hmm.
same generation and who are pretty woke per se. But these
Mm-hmm.
are all things
Mm-hmm.
that are usually like a little skeptical or like debatable for people from our parents or grandparents' generation. And
Right. So
God,
people who are
yeah.
of traditional and maybe conservative mindsets.
Absolutely. And like the amount of backlash that I have gotten from them, the amount of time I have just broken my head over trying to convince them and, uh,
Mm-hmm.
help them understand where I'm coming from. I've tried emotional
Right.
blackmail. I've tried doing tantrums. I've tried like logic, reason, everything possible
Damn.
just to get my way.
So
And
give me,
yeah.
yeah, and it still hasn't worked. You still require an alter ego
Oh no,
to
it
do these
worked.
things.
It definitely worked. So I realized that when it comes to people of our older generation or older mindset, the that is where
Mm-hmm.
logic fails and emotion begins. And I just have to
Right.
throw a tantrum and be like, "Oh, you people don't love me, don't care about me," and yeah, that's magic.
And then you get your way.
Yeah, pretty much,
Classic Indian parent-child relationship.
pretty much.
But before
So.
we before
Mhm.
we jump into what you want to bitch about, just quickly give me a couple of examples of the things that you have to do through your alter ego.
Okay, so some of them are super basic, like just going out of the city. Like I'm from Bangalore. I've been brought up
Mm-hmm.
here my whole life and studied here up till my bachelor's. So for my master's,
Mm-hmm.
I got into a college in the north, in Delhi NCR basically. And the
Mm-hmm.
location was obviously a bit of a concern for my parents because they've lived their entire lives in South India, in the
Right.
humble city that Bangalore is.
Uh-huh.
So they were not okay with me going all the way there, even though there were a lot of my batchmates going there with me, and I would be in the hostel
So
inside the
then
campus.
so then you
Mhm.
convinced your parents to let you go by turning into the Arya character.
Well, I convinced them by doing a lot of emotional drama, and so it's like
But as
I, in
yourself,
my
right?
mind, yeah, pretty much. So in my mind, it's
No, but
like
I want to know
not.
things that you
Mhm.
have done in your Arya character that you couldn't do
Okay, this is
as
a bit of
your.
a crazy one because it's like.
That's the gossip. That's where the gossip is. I don't want to hear this cutesy stuff. Oh, I have to emotionally blackmail my. Give me the juice.
Okay. So, this is usually when I'm not like usually monitored or restrained by my family or like, society and like not monitored by
Restrained.
people.
Wow.
Well, I mean, so
I'm trying to imagine what your life looks like, and it is crazy. Like I
I
feel like
do
you like
feel that
I
I'm
feel
living like
like
a whole double life.
I feel like you say you're calling from Bangalore, but you're actually in Afghanistan. Like,
Who knows?
you know. No, so, yeah. So go on. Give me a quick example, and then we'll jump into what you want to bitch about.
Okay, so I remember that this is specifically during the first time that the lockdown happened after the pandemic began
Mm-hmm.
in March of 2019. So I
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of the people in my class, the hostel, everyone, they were going back home because obviously like too much uncertainty, right? So two of my
Right.
friends got stuck in the hostel because the flights to Maharashtra were all cancelled. So they didn't have a choice
Mm-hmm.
but to stay. There was no way to go in or
Mm-hmm.
out to Maharashtra at that time. So they were just stranded basically. So even though
Okay.
they were like basically it was their majburi, I chose to stay
Mm-hmm.
because like it's for fun. I didn't want to go home. So I was just like, why not? Like both of them are here, like close friends of mine. The hostel warden's also here. Why not? So it became like the next 2 months, me living on campus with just my two friends. And we were literally the only three students on the entire campus. It was like our own personal resort. So in lieu of that, what I ended up doing with one of my friends is that in the reception of the block where our hostel is,
Right.
there are these
Uh-huh.
amazing rolly chairs that are there, right? The chairs with wheels with
Okay.
like amazing back support. So I took
Uh-huh.
one of the chairs, and despite knowing that yeah, there are cameras everywhere, and the IT people may or may not be watching, who knows? So I
Mm-hmm.
took one of the chairs and I just glided across the corridor, happily screaming, "I'm Superman!" across the director's office.
Ah,
Luckily, he was not in
right.
the office.
Right. That must have been some good weed then. Yeah.
I wish.
All right. Cool. Let's jump in. Let's jump into the reason why you're calling. So Arya, tell me, what would you like to bitch about today?
Honestly, I would like to bitch about how it's so difficult to be an adult in today's world. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
probably back in my parents' age and so on, they didn't even realize that adulting is a whole thing in itself. Like, nobody spoke
Right.
about, like, we know childhood, we know adolescence, that, yeah, this is what you're going to go through. But
Mm-hmm.
nobody spoke about
Mm-hmm.
adulting. And I feel like this is the time and age where we're actually coming to terms with it, while more people of our ages are just like, getting to know that okay, this is a whole process that we're going through. It's not like you magically wake up one day and you are like turned into this
And you're
whole
an
adult.
adult.
Exactly. And I
Right.
mean, age has absolutely nothing to do with it.
And if I may ask, how old are you, just for context?
I'm 25 right now.
Awesome. So you stepped into adulthood fairly recently.
Yep, pretty much. I have had my quarter
And
life crisis as well.
already, yeah. And I've had this experience as well, and I've observed that we're only prepared once we step out of college and stuff. The only thing that we have in terms
Mm-hmm.
of preparation is knowledge. We
Right.
don't have any wisdom.
Oh, true. So
And
true.
and in order to survive being an adult, it's so important to have wisdom along with the knowledge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this wisdom only comes through experience, and
Mm-hmm.
we weren't prepared in any way for a lot of the experiences that came our way, right? And then we had to
Mm-hmm.
learn through trial and error, make a bunch of mistakes, watch other people make mistakes, and then
Mm-hmm.
go, yeah, I don't think I should do that, and then do it anyway. And it was
Mm-hmm.
wild. Yes, like I feel like the first decade of your life as an adult is pretty
Mm-hmm.
intense. In a sense, it's like a complete roller coaster. And then the second decade, if you've been paying attention in the first decade, is slightly calmer. That's when you're
True,
sort
true.
of like at cruising altitude. But then even that's a very turbulent ride. But I agree with you. There's a lot of stuff that
Mm-hmm.
young adults have just not been prepared for. No one has spoken to them. No one has shared any advice. No one has ever said, "Hey, watch out for this. This is going to happen to you. Watch out for that thing that's going to happen to you." So, yeah, that's a
Mm-hmm.
fair and valid thing to bitch about. So let's try and see, Arya, if we can get through some of the things that you wish
Mm-hmm.
um, people prepared you for. You know what I mean? Some of the life
Yeah.
experiences as an adult that you probably hope you had handled better, but because there was no warning whatsoever, it was a
Mm.
complete shit show. So, what are some of the
Right.
things you wish people spoke to you about, like the seniors ahead of us? What did you wish they spoke to you about?
So honestly, if I had to condense some of the major things that I wish I knew when I was like still in college or like in my teens, like it would have
Mm-hmm.
immensely benefited not just me but everybody in our 20s and like lifelong, of course. So some of those things, like
Mm-hmm.
number one is personal finance, how to do basic
Right.
things like managing your pocket money, budgeting, saving, investing also, like
Yeah.
not just saving it
Yeah.
and like blowing it up on like chocolates or like movies or like other stuff, but actually
Right.
investing it in actual assets that would be super helpful when you're like 60 and probably having a heart condition.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. No, I completely agree.
mhm,
Financial literacy is at an absolute, I would say, at least when I graduated from college, it was zero. Nobody spoke to us about financial literacy. Like the only things that happened to us was one,
mhm,
you got a job, and you had a certain amount of a salary, and then two, the bank gave you a credit card
Oh yeah,
and said
big
go have
mistake.
fun. That's yeah. And thankfully, I was able to dodge falling into credit card debt because
Mm-hmm.
I found something really odd. I was just like, okay, my salary is like, I think at that time, my first job ever at that
Mm-hmm.
time paid me around, I think, 30K a month. And my credit card had a limit of 1 lakh. So
Oh
I'm
wow.
like, this doesn't make sense because I'm spending money I don't have.
Mm.
And then I started learning about how some of my other peers started getting into credit card debt because they were buying stuff, to furnish their
Mm-hmm.
house, a new
Right.
phone, whatever it is. That first taste of financial freedom where you just want to spend all that money.
Mm-hmm.
And they started buying things that their salaries couldn't pay for, because of which they were continuously in debt. And then they would take more credit cards and they would roll that
Exactly.
debt over. It was crazy.
It's
So
just like a
yeah,
vicious cycle
that's
that you're
one
stuck
thing.
in.
Yes, that vicious cycle. A lot of young adults unknowingly, just fall into this debt cycle, and they just end up being in debt for the first 10, 15 years. It's pretty crazy. You end up losing a lot of money there. The
Mm-hmm.
investments thing, yeah, absolutely agree. Like 100%, people need to start investing from the get go. Even if it's a small amount, even if you can put away just like 1,000 or 2,000 rupees a month just to
Mm-hmm.
begin with. I don't know what your situation is, how good a job you bagged. Not everybody is
Mm-hmm.
as sharp as uh, most people. So yeah, I mean, even if the low minimum is like 1 or 2K a month,
Mm-hmm.
goes a long way. And I
It
was
does for
just
sure.
looking at my portfolio, like which my wealth manager just sent, like I think today or yesterday, and I was
Mm-hmm.
seeing how much my investments are worth today, and I was like, holy shit! If I had started sooner,
Right.
if I had started in my 20s, my goodness, I would not even be doing this podcast. I think I'd be like, yeah, I have enough. I don't need more views. But it's true. It's true. There's just like, you would have left college fairly
Mm-hmm.
recently compared to me. So was there any sort of
Mm-hmm.
sort of education or sort of like special lectures or something for something like this, like financial literacy?
Oh yeah, there was actually. So, like I've always been interested in personal finance, investing, and like all of these things because during my early teens, like at the age of 12, 13, I was super curious as to this idea that how do people become rich? And I was obsessed with the idea
Right.
of like, let's become rich. So I watched like insane amount of videos on YouTube about how to become rich, how to, get money fast. And most of them talked about
Right.
investing about like assets, stocks, etc. But then I obviously don't know anything about this. I'm just like a kid, and it's ironic, but I never got pocket money in my entire life, not even till today. So not even 10 rupees. My parents would be like, "Oh, if you want pocket money, we can give you 10 rupees per month if you like wash the dishes or wash the car." I'm just like, "What are you thinking of me? Not some manual labor that you can exploit, okay?"
Right. That's pretty wild.
Mm-hmm. So
Like, so, but hang on a second, but wait. But that was something you did on your own volition, right? Like, you looked up how to get rich because obviously, and maybe in a way, your parents were like kind of pushing you to be a little ambitious. They say, right, all the things you don't have in your
Mhm.
childhood, you go really
Exactly.
hard after when you're an adult. So yeah, that, I mean, what, like 10 rupees pocket money is wild, dude. 10 rupees per month, like what kind of life did they think you had?
So my
At
parents'
like,
explanation basically was like, forget whether I was in school or college, it doesn't matter. Their basic logic was that you are our responsibility. So if you ever need money, you could just ask us. And so yeah,
right.
it
So on a
in some way it
need
makes
basis,
sense.
so on a need basis, they're like, okay, if you urgently needed money, you have to pay your college fees or something, whatever. They were
No,
always
no,
okay.
not just like on a need basis, but on like a anything basis. Like if you want money to like buy something for yourself
Yeah,
or
that's
go meet
called a
your
need. It's
friends.
called a need basis. Yeah, that's what I was.
So
It's
it's
need
like
basis. Yeah,
makes
exactly.
sense.
When they don't give you money in advance, and then
Mhm.
they tell you, hey, hang on a second. Only if you need something, let me know. Yeah, it is need basis. But I understood. Yeah, I get what you mean. So that's something that personally drove you to try and understand how you can make more money, and how you can manage your money well. But again, that is something
Mhm.
you did because your parents didn't give you the pocket money that you needed, right? But I'm saying in
Pretty much.
general, the, in general, in the classroom, like, does the college organize these things, like these
So
guest
luckily,
lectures where
the
somebody gives
college
you
that
tip?
I studied in, there were these certificate courses that we had to do as a mandatory thing. And like you had to do like a minimum of two certificate courses, and we had a lot of choices. So
What are these certificate courses? Yeah.
like apart from the degree that you're studying in the college, you can choose like certificate courses based on any like subject or stream. So it's like if I'm studying psychology or economics or whatever it is, I can still
But I'm
choose
saying,
the
but
courses which are into like personal finance, or it can be about
so
economics, it can be about anything, even if it's related
Arya,
to.
just
Yeah,
sorry to interrupt you, but we
yeah. Go on.
we have a limited amount of time, so we need to get to our locations
Oh yes,
faster.
yes, I agree.
don't
There's a lot to
don't
talk
take
about.
the long route. Don't take the long route that Google Maps is suggesting. Get there faster. So, simple question: did they have these courses that taught you financial literacy? Yes or no?
Yeah, they did. They did.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. See, this is just, just how your parents were, like, very tight fisted with how they taught you to manage money. You need, even the words right now, use only the ones that are needed on a need basis.
Understood. Cool, cool.
Otherwise, we'll run out of time.
Fun
So
fact, this
basically, are you
course was
saying,
called
yeah,
Finance for Non-Finance Students.
which is very self-explanatory.
Yeah,
They may as well have called it finance for dummies. So that means the option is available today.
it
People are,
was available in our
as a student.
college, but I don't think it's available in like every college. That's the,
That's fine. I'm
thing.
talking about your
Mm.
college. Was it available in your college? Let's focus
Yeah,
on
yeah,
you right
it
now. Don't worry about
was.
the rest of the world. It was available. So you're saying, you did take the course?
Yeah, I did. I did because I was always interested
And
in
then
business. So went ahead.
was it still not helpful as a young adult?
It was quite helpful. It gave me a lot of theoretical knowledge, but then again, it's like they're not asking you to personally, like, set up an account or like start investing in something. They're
Got
not
it. So you're
doing
saying
that step by
it's
step
very
thing.
generic. It could have been much better.
Yeah,
Right.
there's no practical exposure or like,
Okay, fair
practical
enough. So then
experience.
let me clear out any doubts. If anybody who's listening right now, watching, who's a like fresh adult, fresh out of the oven adult,
Hmm.
and you're new to money, you just have a job and stuff like that. A few tips, very simple: learn to live within your means. Don't spend more money than you earn. As simple as that. It's
Hmm.
okay to say no to things you don't need, don't need right now. Focus on only what
Hmm.
is essential, right?
Right, right.
Save some money aside, try investing, even if it's a small amount. No amount is too small. Try investing. There are different kinds of
Hmm.
plans that are very low risk, like mutual funds and SIPs and stuff. So try and find out,
Right, right.
get in touch with like a personal wealth manager, and
Yep.
start putting some money away really early on, because believe me, as you get older, you will need to dip into those resources. You will not be able to have a comfortable life with just your salary. Here's a fun
Hmm.
financial fact: you just will not be able to have a comfortable life. You need your money to make money for you. So any money
Hmm.
that that you're not spending
Hmm.
needs to be, if possible, making money for you, right?
Right,
Avoid
right.
credit cards. First 10 years of your career, I would recommend avoid credit cards, unless you
Hmm.
have like really strong control of staying within the limit, and make sure you pay your credit card bills on time. Like, don't pay the minimum amount, pay the full amount. Otherwise, interest and all that stuff, you'll be spending more money. Yeah, if you're buying a car, take a loan. Don't buy a
Hmm.
car on with cash, because that is not helpful, because the car is a depreciating asset. Fuck, how much knowledge gyan I'm bartering right now.
It's a TED talk happening
But
right now.
it's a TED talk, yeah. But whatever you can learn about financial management in your 20s itself will really, really help you. And right now, you guys, you have tons of videos at your disposal. So, go check those out. But definitely take your financial management seriously from the get go itself. Yeah.
Definitely,
That was
and
that.
it
That
pays off.
concludes my TED talk on personal finance management. What's the other thing that you wish
Hmm.
that people prepared you for?
I think like, I mean, this is something that's very neglected, which is just how to manage your adult relationships or how to even form friendships, because like when you're in school or college, you have like this endless supply of people around you. So you don't really think that,
Yeah.
oh, I need to be friends with everybody. You'll go with whoever you like,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, but as you
Yeah.
grow older, you start noticing you're becoming more and more like isolated or alone because you're so
Mm-hmm.
caught up with work, with responsibilities and other things. You don't have time to socialize with your
Yeah.
own existing social circle
Yeah.
or make new friends.
Yeah.
So, and nobody
Mm-hmm.
taught us how to maintain those relationships, how to establish them, maintain them, like, make them stronger,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's with other people or
Mm-hmm.
with your own self, actually.
Yeah. That's a big one. Like,
Hmm.
socializing, or the need to socialize and to socialize in a smart manner once you become an adult. Yes, very different. I think there are so many things that go into managing these spaces, right? Like some people tend to, like, be very focused on their personal relationships. Like if they're dating somebody, then they forget their friends, and they're
Hmm.
just into that relationship all the time, because the other time is spent working. um, and if you're single, yeah, you have a lot of friends because you have time to meet them. But I learned after my breakup in 2014, yeah, that's when I realized how important
Hmm.
it was to have a very healthy and strong social circle around you that grows with you, because
Exactly.
life gets pretty crazy the older you get, and it's really nice to have this tight uh, bond with these people that you can take along with you. And also, as you get older, I've realized you get very picky about people
Hmm.
you want to hang out with. So you're
Right,
not
right.
as inclined to socialize in your 30s as much
Hmm.
as you are in your 20s. So wherever you
Hmm.
are in your 20s, try and find yourself like a good bunch of people, who vibe with you, and that people that you can keep around for a long time. Because once you get to your 30s, and if you haven't spent that time, this is another investment. Like your friends also, big fucking investment. You get that one
Hmm.
wrong, like you hang out with the wrong people and you carry those guys into your 30s, it's going to be a rough ride. So I think very important to kind of put yourself out there, make and it'll happen obviously naturally as well, because you'll meet people in the workplace,
Hmm.
your friends will hang out, you'll go on Bumble and Hinge and all these places, and you will meet people. But focus on the relationships as in the same manner that you would your investments, in the
Hmm.
sense that if
Yeah,
you're giving
pretty
your
much.
time, yeah, it's the same
Yeah, yeah.
principle actually, right? Think about it. Like if you're giving your time to somebody, like, no, are you, is a fun person to hang out with? Is this a positive person to hang out with? Can we do some shady shit? With under a alter ego umbrella and stuff. So it's you get those people. If you're fortunate to have those people with you in your 20s, and forge those bonds, take them with you. To your 30s and fucking have a good time. Another thing I learned is it's important to have certain kinds of friends.
Hmm.
Like, for example, friends who are lawyers,
Oh, yeah.
friends who are cops, friends who are thugs as well. Like, if you have one gunda friend, it's very important to have one gunda or a thug
I
as a friend,
completely
because you
agree.
never know when shit will hit the fan, and you need to get some things done. Always good to have a thug as a friend. Doctors, I'm very lucky that I have a bunch of friends who are doctors. So the minute something happens to me, I start sending them pictures, and what is this? Is this going to kill me? And if I'm not well, they'll tell me what medication to take, or if I need a second opinion on a report, they'll look at it and
Mhm.
they'll tell me exactly what the numbers mean. So yes, try and make sure you have friends in certain occupations that can come in handy when
Diversify your social
necessary.
circle.
Diversify your social portfolio, yeah. Very, very true. And also, it's important for you also to make something of yourself so that you are useful to them. Okay, don't
Oh,
be
yeah. Oh,
the
yeah.
useless. Don't be the useless friend in the circle. You know what I mean? Like every social circle, I don't know if you have this. Like every social circle has this one or two friends that are absolutely
Mhm.
useless. You know what I mean?
Agreed, agreed. And then
Like,
you're just
yeah,
wondering why
and
you're
you know who
friends
you
with
are.
them.
You know who you are. Exactly. And here's how you'll know if you are the useless friend. Okay, like if there is ever an emergency situation where one of your friends needs to get something sorted out urgently, would they call you?
Mm.
You know what I mean? So if the answer is yes, then you are a useful friend. But if the answer is no, then you're freaking absolutely useless. I hope you're good at something else. You
That's
know?
a super useful criteria.
Yeah. So yeah, I think picking all of these skills up, and that's why corporate politics is essential. Like corporate politics really whips these young kids into shape. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
you have all these different people at the office, and that's where that's where you're going to spend most of your time. So you know
I think
that
that
if
looking
you're
into those like
sharp,
social nuances of the dynamics in the office like pays off immensely because you don't know like who
yes,
is like what on the surface until you like wait it out and like take your time to observe.
yeah,
It's like a lion hiding
yeah,
in the bushes and just waiting for its prey to come. So
correct,
it's almost like that. So you have to be like super
yeah.
careful who you do what with.
And you also learn so many important life skills, like teamwork, leadership, thinking outside the box, working within a deadline, like real stuff where important things are at stake, like
Hmm.
especially if you want to start something of your own someday. Like if you can learn these things while you're in a corporate space, it'll really help you, when you're on your own out there in the real world. So yeah, pay attention at work. Yeah, very good, very important. What else, Arya? We're doing well. You're doing well. Yes, I like how we shifted gears and we narrowed down our focus.
Awesome. Glad to hear that. I'm a quick learner.
Yeah.
So, coming to the next point,
Yeah.
I feel like
Yes.
handling domestic responsibilities, because, like, I mean, up till college, you are the student, you're the child. So, you're like,
Yes.
busy with study. So, nobody bothers you to like take care of the household responsibilities. And most people have
Yeah.
something called a house help. But here, the issue comes when you are the one responsible for that house help and responsible
When
to
you
make
are the
sure
house help
she gets.
yourself sometimes. Yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And you have to be responsible to make sure she gets shit done. So, oh my God, dealing with the maid or the
Yeah.
house help or the cook, whatever you want to call them, is like the weirdest negotiation possible. Because it's like no matter how many
Yeah.
times you say, दीदी ये साफ क्यों नहीं है? मुझे नहीं पता, मैंने तो साफ किया था, ठीक से किया मैंने.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
what do I tell you now? Like अपने आप गंदा हो गया, मैंने गंदा
Exactly.
किया.
Like, yeah, yep. Very true. Like there should be a compulsory lecture for every student graduating on how to deal with running a house. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole journey in itself. And by the time I reached a place where I was efficiently running my apartment or my home, I had
Mm-hmm.
so much respect for my mom, and
Mm-hmm.
any homemaker around the world, because it's a job that has no shifts. You're on all the time. You always have to make sure stuff is neat and tidy. You have to make sure the pantry is full, there's always food. You have to
Right.
plan ahead. You have to keep things clean. It's so
There
much.
are other people who are
uh,
dependent on you, if not just like
Other
you
people depend
alone.
on you. And the fun part here is nobody usually gets out of college, gets a job, and lives on their own. You have to go through the system, and the
Hmm.
system being living with total strangers just because the three of you or the four of you can, share the rent. That's the only thing
Oh,
that
yeah.
you have in common at the beginning, where you're just like, okay,
Hmm.
all of us don't have enough money to live on our own, so we're going to chip in because the division works fairly. But other than that, I have no idea who the fuck you are. And then you go through this process, and that's another space where you learn how to manage your social uh, interactions, because you live with
Hmm.
people. You don't know if they're clean, if they're dirty, if
And
they,
I feel like living in
shower
a
every
shared
day.
space, exactly. So sharing a physical space with a person who is not your family is such a tremendous thing to go through because you can like have the
Yeah.
worst possible time of your life if your flatmates are people that you don't get along with at all, or like
Yes.
there are some, nitty-gritties.
Yes.
It's a nightmare
Yeah.
actually, and nobody teaches us or
Yeah.
tells us this.
Yeah. So all you young kids out there, once you step out of your home, especially if you're leaving the city and going to a new city, you will most likely be living in a shared space. So yeah, make sure you pick wisely. Try and get to know the people that you are moving in with. Like maybe like it's like go on a date or something. Like go out. Ask them what kind of music they're into, what kind of food they like, etc., etc. Like if you can get that right, you'll have a easier time living with them. Otherwise, if I've heard horror stories from some of my friends where they didn't really know who the person
Mhm.
was, and just because they could share the rent, they were like, yeah, okay, move in and shit. And then suddenly there's like
Oh, this
chaddis
especially
on the sofa
commonly
and stuff
happens
like
when
that.
you just like move in with your colleagues because it's so convenient that you work together and
Yeah,
you're also
yeah,
homeless, they're also homeless, like let's move in.
absolutely,
And then you
absolutely.
realize the
Yeah,
horror that you can't get away from these people, whether you're
yeah.
at home or at work.
But I think at the same time, these experiences, even the shitty experiences are so essential because they kind of like push you to do better, right? Like so, when I
Definitely.
left college, I remember I was staying in a PG, right, in Mumbai for some
Mhm.
time because that's all I could afford, like just one room in somebody else's house, which was so damn strange, like it's somebody else's house. You have no idea who they are. You come quietly, they go quietly. It's really weird. And I remember the day that I decided, what, I need to work harder to get a nice bonus so I can move out of this space because it was my day off. I'm fast asleep, and like 7 in the morning, there's some work going on the roof, which happens to be the terrace, right? So I was
Mhm.
on the second floor, and it was like a two-story building, and these guys were using a jackhammer to change the tiles, and they
Oh, wow.
drilled so hard that they cut through the ceiling of my room. And I
Okay.
wake up, and suddenly I see that my ceiling has a sunroof. And I was just like, and there's like tiles falling all over me on the bed and shit. And I was just like, Dan, come on, you deserve better than this. So
Definitely.
eventually, yeah, I I moved out and then moved into a shared space with somebody from work, and then my sister joined me, and then eventually we were like, okay, it's three of us in this house, and then that guy got married and his wife moved in, and then like it was four of us. Really weird situation. Not weird in the sense that you wouldn't expect.
Mhm.
They were a
Right.
really cool couple, but then they just got married, and I'm just like, it's a little weird, right? They just got married, and we are here and stuff like that. So
Like they already
eventually,
have
then we were
kids
like,
before they got married.
yeah, yeah, and then it was, but that was not the thing that pushed me off the edge. The thing that pushed me off the edge was that we were constantly harassed by pigeons, dude. Like
Oh.
these, and there was just this particular pigeon. It was the same one. Like I know it was the same pigeon because you just know, okay, if you ever been harassed by a pigeon, you
Mhm.
know if it's the same one. The same fucker would keep coming in every single day and shitting all over the room and stuff like that. It was really annoying. And I didn't like shutting the windows because I like cross ventilation and stuff. So eventually it got to a point where like, I'm going to leave this apartment, but before I leave this apartment, I'm going to fuck this pigeon up, okay?
Oh.
So the last time he entered my bedroom, I shut the window quietly, trapped him inside,
Mhm.
and then I had this gigantic umbrella which I just kept opening and closing. So,
Okay.
in front to his view, like from a bird's eye view, it looks like some giant ass bird coming after him. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
Right, from where he is. So I kept doing that, and he must have thought like, what the fuck is this this place? I'm getting out of here. And then the pigeon just fucked off, never came back,
This is a
never came
pigeon with
back.
a
Like,
personal
yeah,
vendetta. Probably that, I was here
yeah, and like
before you
that.
get out.
Yeah, and this pigeon probably had to go for therapy and stuff, right? But a couple of days later, another pigeon just came by the window, peeped in, and it wasn't the same guy. Like I knew straight away because if you've ever been harassed by pigeons, you know straight away it's the same one. This wasn't the same one, and this guy looked in, and I was like, "What? You want something?" And he's like, "No, no, no. I just came to see. I heard there was like this psycho bird living in this particular room. So I just want to see what it's all about. All the other pigeons are talking about you." And I said, "Yeah, good. Now fuck off." And that pigeon left, and so did I. But yes, gradually I moved then to an apartment by myself with me and my sister were sharing. Then she moved out, and eventually I was on my own. And after that, once you get a taste of living on your own, oh damn, that's the best thing. That's the
Agreed.
best thing.
I have
Do you live
reached
on your
that
own?
headspace now. No, not yet, but I do intend to keep that as my next step going ahead. So I am like very well focused on that goal now.
So
Real
yeah, I
freedom is
think
living on your own, doing whatever the fuck
living
you
on your
want in
own.
your own house.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Yes, yes, yes. And I think parents also need to understand this. Like I had a friend whose mom got really pissed off because she left the house to
Mhm.
live on her own, and And her mom was like, "How could you leave this house?" And it was, it's a nice house. You know, why are you leaving the house? And the daughter was like, yeah, I'm trying to explain to you that I need my own space. It's so important to have your own space. Your space is your identity. You can do it up whatever way you like.
Right, right.
You can have your friends over. Very important to live on your own. Like, don't jump into a marriage straight away. Nah, like if you get married straight out of college, like straight out of your parents' home, you've
Mm-hmm.
gone to a home with a partner, man, you've missed out. You have missed out. Like, you
True,
should
true.
definitely live with but live by yourself if you can, and it really kind of makes you like a well-rounded individual. And once you are at a
Mm.
certain level, then yeah, then you can have people over, and then they leave in the morning, and then one day you'll find yourself not wanting one of those people to leave, and you'll be like, stay now, stay
Mm.
now, stay now. And then you get into a relationship with that person, and then like a few years later after you're married, and like, yeah, should have asked her to leave. But cool. So on that note, Arya, we're
Mhm.
going to wrap up this episode. I think this was fun. Definitely informative for people who've just become adults and are trying to figure their shit out. I hope we covered some tips that were helpful.
Mhm.
But thank you so much for joining me. I hope you learned something as well.
I did. It was fun talking to you. Thank you so much for having me here.
Likewise, likewise. This was a lot of fun. I hope to see you at a show someday soon, because that's right, folks. I'm not just a pretty boy who does podcasts. I am a comedian who also does live shows. So if you are ever in one of the cities that I'm visiting, come catch a show. You can get all updates on my Instagram. All right, Arya, this was fun.
Mhm.
You can go back to doing some more shady stuff that your parents do not know. uh,
Done, done.
and make sure, just make sure you don't get caught, and if you get caught, make sure it's for a good reason.
Noted. Thank you for all the tips.
Awesome,
And
this was
yeah,
a lot of fun.
same
It was
here.
my pleasure.
Take
Thank you for
care.
joining us.
Bye.
Yep, take care. Bye bye.